allocated for this hearing is from 10 to 10:45. So there are a few things I need to read to you both before we get started. But before I do that, I'm going to ask both of you to raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm any statements you make during this proceeding shall be the truth, the whole truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Okay, this is the Superior Court of Clayton County. My name is Brad Gardner. I'm a magistrate judge in Clayton County, sitting by designation as a Superior Court judge to hear this matter. This case involves a petition for a restraining order under the Family Violence Act. The status of the case at this time is that a protective order, ex parte protective order, has been issued upon the application of one party without notice and without the presence of the other party. The purpose of the hearing today is to determine whether the protective order will be continued. That may happen in two ways. The first way is that both sides can consent or agree to a continuation of the protective order. If that does not occur, then the petitioner will have the burden of proving by a preponderance of the evidence that the respondent has committed an act of family violence and that there is a reasonable likelihood of future acts of family violence. If the order is continued, it will stay in effect for 12 months and will automatically expire at that time. The order may be converted into a permanent order only upon the written motion of the petitioner following an additional hearing before the court. If the order is going to be continued today, there are a number of other issues that may need to be resolved based upon your particular circumstances. If you have children together, the court must decide who will have temporary custody of the children, how the children will be supported, or child in this case, and what type of visitation the non-custodial parent will have. If you have shared the use of property, any property, whether is it a residence, automobiles, furnishings, or anything else, the right to the temporary use and possession of the property will have to be decided. If you have incurred obligations to pay debts with the other party, the responsibility for making payments on those debts under the time the order is in effect must be decided. If both sides in your case would like a chance to talk before we have a hearing to see whether you can resolve some or all of these issues, I'll make that time available. Do either one of you believe that having a discussion about your matters can resolve this issue today prior to a hearing? I'll start with you, Ms. Jones.
Honestly, given the acts that he done, I don't think it's going to be any resolving. We have been here multiple times. This is just the furthest time I took it to court.
Okay.
I don't think it's going to be resolved.
Ma'am. Mm-hmm. Your answer is no, and I take that. You don't have to keep explaining, okay? No one is required to enter into settlement negotiations. There are allegations of violence in these cases, and I understand that you may not feel comfortable speaking to him, and that's why you're not required to do so. There are other issues that are here that I'm going to address from the beginning so that we can know where we are as it relates to whether this protective order is going to be issued or not. Ms. Jones, you filled out a financial affidavit. Is that correct?
Yes.
And I understand that neither you nor Mr. Mays were married at the time.
Yes.
The child has not been legitimated.
Yes, she has.
Okay. So what that means is that you're not entitled to funds to help pay for the child. And Mr. Mays, you're not entitled to see the child. So there will not be any visitation arrangements made. There will not be any funds given out as it relates to taking care of the child. If that's something that you want to have done, Ms. Jones, you got to make the proper filings for legitimation of the child and for Mr. Mays to be placed on either a custody arrangement or that he's required to pay child support. Okay. We
Okay.
got to do things in order. We can't do things backwards. Mr. Mays, unless and until this child is legitimated, that is not your child. And you're not going to have rights to see that child. You have to do things the right way also. So if you believe this is your child, you need to take the step forward, legitimize the child, get placed on a arrangement to pay child support and to request visitation. Okay. So the sole matter we're going to deal with today is whether this petition should issue. All right. Is there any
Okay.
questions about that, Ms. Jones?
No.
Is there any questions about that, Mr. Mays?
Oh, Your Honor.
You said no?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. So, Ms. Jones, you're the person that as the petitioner, you have the burden. So you get to go first. So in just plain language, tell me what happened.
Okay, so one afternoon, he wanted to see our child. So me and my daughter, we're on a very tight schedule because I work full time and she's a toddler. She needs to be on a schedule. She don't need to be going to bed any, time of night. So he knows that. He asked, can he see her? I said, it's late. I will make sure she calls you before she go to bed, which is something that we normally do. But Mr. Mays, I guess that wasn't a good enough answer for him. So he's called me repeatedly. At that time, my mother's mother just died. So I was on the phone dealing with her, consoling her, and he's called me over 100 times. Next thing I know, he's popping up at my door, banging my door, and almost broke my door off the hinges. My neighbor thought something was happening. She came out her door trying to see what's going on because her dog started going crazy. At that point, I did not feel safe in my home. My door, he kicked it so hard, my door don't even shut properly no more. You can see straight through my apartment's hallway. So if somebody really wanted to break in my apartment, it would not take much. And
You indicated that a police report was made as a result of this incident.
Yes.
Do you know whether Mr. Mays was arrested?
He was not arrested. All I know is that officer that night, he was like, if you don't want this happening again, file a restraining order. Because there's nothing that can keep him from coming back. Them officers had to stay at my house till about 4:00 in the morning because I just truly didn't feel safe.
Okay. So were there any incidents of violence, family violence prior to this incident on January 24th of 2022?
There was other incidents where I had to have police escort me out of our old house because I didn't feel comfortable being there by myself with him.
Can you give me dates?
I don't have the exact dates, but I know it was sometime last year, November, February. It's a continuation.
I'm sorry, you said November, then February.
Yeah, February of 2021.
Oh,
Yeah,
we lost your camera.
There we go. Yes, February of 2021. This is right after our daughter's first birthday.
So you're alleging two prior incidents, February 2021 and November 2021.
Yes. Those are just stuff off the top of my head. There has been other occasions where I had to call the cops, but I just can't recollect dates of it. But there was reports made.
I saw that the two of you lived together prior. Can you give me those dates?
So we lived together from, I want to say December 2019 till around, I believe I moved out of our home that we used to share in October of 2021.
Okay.
All right.
And
Judge, can I stop you for 1 second? Angela
yes,
Freeman, can you put her in a breakout room?
sure.
Because she's not part of this hearing. Thank you. My apologies for interrupting.
No problem. A lot of times I'm not even paying attention to the screen. Okay, so what happened between February 2021 and October 2021?
So throughout that time, we had a disagreement around
You know what?
our.
Hold on. I'm sorry. I'm going to place her in the waiting room.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry, Miss Jones.
Okay, so February, after our daughter's first birthday, we had a disagreement, and pretty much he wanted me out of the home, and he wanted me out of the home at that moment. So I had to call the police. I had to call my parents because I didn't feel safe. There were a lot of yelling and a lot of screaming. After that, I moved in with my parents, and then we would kind of work things out to where I would go back to the home and everything will be straight. And then the next few months, something always happens where he's kicking me out again. So those are always the reasons for multiple cops calls being made.
Okay. So were there any acts of family violence after this incident on January 24th of 2022?
No, because since then, I haven't seen or heard from him.
Okay.
So once I made the report and he got started, I haven't seen or heard from him. No phone calls, no texts, no nothing.
Okay. Can you describe what actions Mr. Mays took that made you feel uncomfortable?
He called me out of my name. He subliminal threatens me.
I don't know what that means.
So he would do things to intimidate me.
Such as?
Okay, so I've told Mr. Mays plenty of times before, like when he's upset, I'm scared of you. He knows that. So he knows how to trigger me and make me fear for my life. That night, after I told him, do not come to my home, what did he do? Text me, I'm right outside, open up the door. When he knows that, I know he's mad. So he knows that I know that I'm very scared right now. And then when he kicked in my door, I believe that he did hear our daughter cry. And that scared me because she was asleep. She was asleep that night, and those kicks woke her up, and she woke up horrifically crying, clinging onto my neck. So at that point, I was scared because I thought that the next kick, my door was going to come down. And I truly do believe that my neighbor coming out her door, he would have knocked my door down, and I don't know what he would have done.
Has he ever threatened you?
Yes.
Can you tell me the threat?
So it would be like, I'm going to have somebody come see you or something of that nature.
Can you tell me when this threat occurred?
I believe that night a threat was made. I will have to go through my text messages thread because it was so many. And another night, I was out with my siblings at my sister's house, and he threatened to shoot up her area, like where she was at, where he knew that me and my daughter were staying at the time. He threatened to shoot everything up.
When did this threat occur?
That was around, I would believe, October.
And that's when you finally left the house for good?
Yeah, around that time I left the house for good and I was staying with my sister.
Okay. there is a box check that respondent is ordered not to disconnect or have disconnected the home utilities, change or have changed and or cancel or have canceled auto, health, or life insurance for respondent, petitioner and or petitioner's children, or interfere with respondent,
Okay.
petitioners and or petitioner's mail. So if you moved out of the house on October 20 of 21, and this happened January 24th of 22nd, what shared utilities do you have?
It's not shared utilities. He did have health insurance on our daughter from his previous job. And right now my daughter's on Medicaid. So I don't know when that can end. I haven't heard nothing about my case with Medicaid. So if he does still hold health insurance for her, I didn't want him to cancel it out of spite.
Well, as I indicated before, I mean, you can put health insurance on anybody, but
Mhm.
lawfully, that's not his child.
Understood.
Is there anything else that you can tell me and point to with specificity as to things that Mr. Mays may have done that caused you to be in fear?
Between the harassment of calling every minute that night and him coming to my house unwanted, that's besides it.
Okay. Mr. Mays, can you give me your side of the story?
Hi, Your Honor. If you will, just to touch bases on the prior events when we were staying together, those were just differences that we had because Ms. Jones was caught cheating multiple times. So that was differences because of that. And if she felt, I understand how she feels. I don't mean any harm. I'm just a caring father that loves his child, and protects his family the best way he can. But certain situations had her feel uncomfortable to where if we're both upset, she calls the police. And that leaves me in a bad situation. It's embarrassing. It's never anything that serious. It's a track record of that. I do have documentation, videos, even of the last situation in February or October when she left. I was living in Alabama at the time. I was working with my job. She was having differences with her family members, and she said they were threatening to put her out. So I offered the home open again to her, even after everything, because I know she didn't have anywhere to go, because it's my family and she has my daughter, So of course I'm going to open the door, make sure they're both okay. She got caught again after we were trying to work it out, and it went from there.
Can I stop you for a second, Mr. Mays?
Sure.
It always just grates on me when you have two people who are supposed to be parents of a child, and each person is using the term "my daughter." Child didn't just magically get here. If that's your child, it's our daughter. And I think that mentality helps cause there to be problems, because if it's mine, then I'm gonna treat it like it's mine. But it's ours, then I'm gonna treat it like it's ours. So please use the phrase "our daughter." And I'm sorry for cutting you off, but that I saw that in the petition with Ms. Jones also. Go ahead.
You're right, our daughter. But as far as any events, I've never had any events to display any family violence. I have witnesses that can vouch for that, track record of that. I never put my family, I never put our family, our daughter at all in any type of harm's way ever. No one can ever speak of any type of harm that I've done for our family or cause. And everyone knows that I do love our family, and I do the best I can as a man.
Well, listen,
I do.
go ahead. I'm
I just
sorry.
I do feel like, you know, we are adults. We can work it out eventually. By being a caring father, by being both parents, it will be right for both of us to have equal custody of our child, just because she needs upbringing and she needs molding from both sides, and it's very important. I do want to get legitimacy for my daughter, for our daughter.
I was going to say, I agree. Child needs both parents, but you two are adults now, and you got to do things as adults do them, and not just how you want to have it done. Miss Jones,
Yes.
other than you're saying that you feel uncomfortable around Mr. Mays, you have this one incident from January 24th of 2022. So I need to understand, what are the acts that make you feel uncomfortable?
Stalking and harassment.
Stalking defined as how?
Stalking is defined as him coming to my home when I don't want him there. There have been times when he would just randomly pop up to see Leia, and it's like, dude, I didn't ask you to come over here. You didn't even call first. How did you even know I was home at the time?
So just so you know, stalking is defined as a pattern of harassing and intimidating conversations that serves no legitimate purpose. And what happens a lot of times when people are placed in the position that you and Mr. Jones have found yourself in, there's no custody plan laid out. So if there is a custody plan that says he picks the child up on this day and drops the child off on another day, then there's no reason for him to contact you outside of the dates that he has. But when it's all loosey-goosey, why can't he contact you to try to see his child? Even if you don't want him to, why can't he?
I never said that he couldn't contact me. It's just the purpose of when he did contact me, for instance, like that night, he knew I was on the phone with my mother. So at that point, what was the reason for you to call me over 100 times after I told you she was going to call you before bed? That's something that we constantly done. So he never did that before until that night. He knew that when I said Leia will call you before bed, Leia will call him before bed.
Yes. Flash. What? Dude. No.
And as far as trying to get everything situated, like custody wise, so therefore he can have his time to see her, I've tried that. And honestly, it took me faster to get a restraining order versus getting a hearing on trying to get a custody arrangement.
The reason for that quick turnaround is that the only purpose for this is to make certain that a person is not placed in unreasonable danger. So that's why I asked the question specifically about threats, and feeling uncomfortable is kind of, is not really something that's concrete. So I'm trying to ask, what is it? Because so for example, he comes out and puts a gun on the table and starts spinning the gun around and say, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? That's intimidation. If he says, I hate you, I wish I'd never had a child with you, yeah, that's harassing. But that's not intimidation.
Okay.
So I'm trying to let you know where I'm going, so that if there's something that pops into your head that you may be able to tell me, I'm here to listen.
Second, you're a very sore loser. See you later. So sad.
So, Mr. Mays, Until this child is legitimized and there's a custody arrangement in place, as far as I'm concerned, you have no legitimate purpose for contacting Ms. Jones. And if you contact Ms. Jones outside of this court proceeding without going through the proper steps, I'll be certainly willing to revisit this.
That's Jerry Paul.
Because if you want to be in your child's life, you're going to have to take the steps to be in your child's life. Ms. Jones.
Yes.
Your Honor.
Hold on, Mr. Mays. I heard Mr. Mays say that he wanted to try to work this thing out. I don't know if that's something that you want to try to do or not. You certainly don't have to do that. So you tell me, do you want to work this out with Mr. Mays, or do you just want to go your separate way?
If it can be something that's documented and like thorough, because we tried that before, Mr. Mays doesn't want to get his child on the weekends when he's off, when he knows I work. Monday through Friday, he would try to get her around 7, 8 p.m. That doesn't work because Leia has a bedtime at 9. So
Okay.
there will
Let me-
always be conflicts on
Let me
trying
be-
to get. Mhm.
Let me be more precise. I heard him to say that he was trying to seal for way for the relationship to work out. And if you don't see that, I'm going to tell him now, don't pursue that. So, I mean, and it's totally fine whether you want to or not. The two of you are adults. The court system is not here to referee disputes between adults when they don't like each other, and then like each other, they're back together. That's not what we're here for. We're here to protect the petitioner. We're here to set bright lines. We're here to make sure that everybody can go about their life in a manner that you can feel safe. Yes, Mr. Mays.
Your Honor, there is no bad blood or anything. I thought this court was just to figure out if my daughter's life is being in jeopardy or her life is being in jeopardy. I'm just trying to work it out to where I can equally be a equal parent. You know, I want to try to. That's what I'm working for. Trying to be able to be a good dad to my daughter, both as co-parents. You know, that's what I'm looking to gain from this. I'm not trying to look to put any more fuel to a fire. I'm just trying to be a good co-parent and just, you know, be a good dad so I can raise my daughter. I love my daughter.
Have the
I love
two of
our
you
daughter.
have the two of you ever gone through counseling?
No.
I offered it. Ms. Jones didn't want to do it at the time, but when we were staying together, but I did offer it a couple of times.
Okay. Give me 1 second. I believe there may be resources available for both of you. Hold on.
I'm not to reclaim my generosity. From the butt to the skunk, my brother. You disrespected me. You disrespected my grandmama, who I buried in that skunk, my brother. I told you never to show your face here again, but here you are, snooping around with this. What are you? A performer? What's with the costume?
Sir, I am a
Mime. She's a mime. This mime cannot speak. You can't speak. You're a mime.
no, I'm a cop. And I'm on the NNR.
Okay. So it appears that as soon as either one of you file in Superior Court for legitimation of the child, that there will be resources available for you to go through mediation or counseling, so that if you're going to stay together, you can stay together. If you're not, you can develop co-parenting skills, and you'll have custody arrangements set in place, and everything can be set up the right way. Okay,
Yep.
so I'm not going to issue this petition because although there was an allegation of an incident that occurred on January 24th of 2022, I don't see that there is a pattern of harassing or intimidating behavior. It appears as though this is a young couple that are going through, well, used to be a couple, but you may have a child together and you need to learn how to live in each other's lives, because you're going to be in each other's lives at least for the next 18 years, whether you're in a relationship or not. Okay, so this is going to be dismissed, but I heavily encourage one or both of you to file something in Superior Court to legitimate this child, to set up a visitation arrangement, to set up a child support arrangement. And if you determine that mediation is something that you may need to go through, there'll be resources there for you to do it. Are there any questions, Ms. Jones?
No.
Any questions, Mr. Mays?
Yes, Your Honor. So through this court portion, there is no way we can set up any type of not mediation, but any type of temporary
Custody?
agreement, a temporary custody or temporary agreement. I did send in documents due to me being a parent, trying to see our child. I have been how can I say? Well, I have been kept from that option, and I did send in documentation on that.
Okay, so the way that happens is through Superior Court, because we start entering separate orders as piecemealing, and you go before this judge that says one thing, you go before that judge that says something else, you go before a third judge that says something else. Everything needs to be handled in the same court with the same judge. You've had, since this child was born, to take those steps, and you've chosen not to. Correct?
I do have the paperwork. I had it. I tried to get Ms. Jones to sign it at the time when we went through everything. She did refuse, so that had me forced to try to get an attorney at the time. And then I started working out of town in Alabama, Huntsville, Alabama, and it kind of slowed that process now.
Hold on, Ms. Jones, before you respond. She doesn't have to agree to anything that you place before her. That's what a judge is for. Okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. So I'm going to dismiss this petition on the grounds that I stated. But again, I strongly suggest the two of you file the paperwork necessary in Superior Court, so that if this relationship is going to work, there are parameters that's set around it. If this relationship is not going to work, you're able to have custody. Ms. Jones is able to get child support, and everybody moves on with their life. Okay?
Okay.
Yes,
All right.
sir.
All right, the two of you are dismissed.